Hey guys, I just feel really led by God to talk about the different things, more about the different things that I'm seeing right now in the news and stuff, and man, my heart is super, super heavy just at all the evil and the wicked, and I'm just so grieved in my spirit, and I know it's God's heart. I know He's allowing me to feel this because it's just so heavy, and he's telling me so much of what's yet to come in America and what people have to expect to come, and just how more evil will be embraced. And I'm talking about the homosexuality, the sin of homosexuals, transgender, and just the whole LGBT movement, and how that's like setting up the stage for the Antichrist is what I see. And Jesus talked so much. He talks so much in the Bible about what we could expect to see in the end times, and the signs and things that we could see, so that we would grow in discernment. And anybody that has any discernment at all, even if they're not seeking God, I would hope would be able to discern how evil it is getting. But this is the thing, you guys. This is why it's so important to draw near to Jesus, so that you can really get sensitive to His heart and really grieve over sin and really see the seriousness of it, and just see the whole movement on what's happening now in spirit. So I just felt led to come on here and really share my heart about things that God's been telling me and sharing with me about this. And yeah, gosh, it's like, Jesus, where do you even start? You know, so much is happening at once, and let's just start here. I just feel God leading me to talk about how insane it is. Like, I know I talked a little bit about this in my other video, but how unnatural it is, the response of people with this pandemic. And with it now being spring, right, you got the green grass, you got the flowers coming out, and the leaves on the trees that are starting to bloom. Like, it looks like the earth is waking up in a sense, you know. And I feel like people are just so sick and tired of the pandemic. They're sick and tired of having to deal with the punishment of God, you know, that's been here for the last year. And they're making plans, they're running, they're escaping. Like I said, I've been talking about this in my podcasts, and people are running, they're escaping. Their response to things right now is so unnatural, to things that are going on in the world. It's almost like I see a world that isn't allowing the depth of sin and how gross it is to affect them. Like, because now I'm seeing like headlines of people, you know, running to Mexico to go and have a vacation because they got bored, you know, or they're having pandemic syndrome, or whatever they call it, pandemic fatigue, I think is what someone called it in an article. And it's like people are so tired. They're so tired of the reality that's in our faces, of how evil and wicked this world is, and how this whole pandemic is a judgment from God, that they're making these plans to go and vacation. Like, there's people leaving the country, and Mexico is one of the very few places that are allowing Americans to still tour and visit. And I just see that that's not even wise. Like, people are just trying to find loopholes to get out of this punishment that God's put the world in. And I just see that because of these unnatural responses of people, that God's going to have to pour out more judgment. But if you guys were to read the Bible, if you look, God talks about how evil and wicked it's going to be in this time. And it's here in our faces. And you've got, like, the sin of, like I said, homosexuality and the LGBT community, and just how it's on the rise. And I was really sitting with God, talking to Him about this, and my husband, you know, and we were just talking to God about how it's really sad. It's really sad that Jesus had to write, like, commandments, specific commandments of what not to do on certain types of evil. Just for an example of how he says not to lay, like the father-in-law should not have sexual relations with the daughter-in-law, and how it's against God's law to engage in bestiality. And if you really sit there and think about it, it's really sad that God had to point out this perversion, this type of sick sin, because he knew that it would be in the hearts of man to desire to do these things in the end times, right? And just as close as we're getting, and as dark as the times are now, like God knew. That's why he shared the vision from his prophets, right? About how bad it was going to get here, and they were grieved in their heart, and they were sickened. And I am a witness, you guys. I am a witness that every day I'm having to wake up and look at this world and how grievous and how sinful it is, and I get sick to my stomach. I completely understand his prophets and when they wrote about these times, because we're in it, we're here, I'm in it, I'm in this cesspool every day, and I'm having to watch as it gets worse and worse, and having to watch as most of mankind are like trying to make the best of it, trying to get back to their normal, and they're not grieved over the sin that's here. They're not grieved over the embracing of how America is embracing all of this sin and pornography, and that's another thing I want to talk about too. Sorry, my dog is out here, I'm throwing a ball to him, but anyways, I just felt God saying, you know, like, talk to them about what I've been showing you. So God's been sharing his heart with me about pornography, and just how it's all over the place. It's like in our faces all day, every day, whether it's the phone, TV, whatever, you guys, it's in our faces every day, and it makes me so sick. Like, literally, I have a stomach ache right now, just from some of the stuff that I read, and it really does put this sick feeling in my gut, like that I could vomit if I speak too much about this, because it's just too much for my spirit. So I can't even imagine the fullness of what God's doing, having to witness everything going on, because I'm just seeing a portion. I'm seeing in part. So I just know that he's got to be so sick and so angry, and he allows me to feel these emotions from him too. So it's not just me. This is God in me feeling these things. But it's like, I read a story about a man, I think he was in the UK, and he wanted to marry his dog. And of course, since there's like laws up that are to protect animals, you know, and animal rights, that he's not able to marry his dog, but he genuinely is serious and wants to marry his dog. And then I've read articles, news articles that are legit about how people want to marry objects. Like, seriously. I mean, you guys can look this stuff up if God leads you to, but please read this stuff in wisdom and ask God before you read anything, because a lot of this stuff is so twisted and just, it's demons all over it. There's this woman who wants to marry the Eiffel Tower, and just insane things, you know. This place is getting so sick. I read an article, I don't know if I put this on YouTube already, but I've talked about it in my podcast, about how there were 3 men who are sexually attracted and, you know, to one another, and they're living together, and they have 2 children from a surrogate mother, a friend of theirs, who is willing to have a baby and give them these children. And my heart grieves so deep for the children who have to grow up in those type of situations, having to watch these men, you know, be sexually attracted to one another and showing that sexual attention, you know, as though it's normal, and it's not. You know, they're not married, but I see that there are going to be laws that America passes that are going to agree with the LGBT community, because these people who are starting to come out, you guys, more freely, and they're just so flamboyant and so, like, happily living out their sins in front of the whole world because they feel like they have this support. now from the LGBT community, and they see it's like demons and Satan and these people who are given into the lust of their flesh. They see, hey, now's my time. Now I can live my life the way I've been wanting to live it, and and they're rising up. And I just see that more laws of this nature, this disgusting, unnatural way of living, a homosexual life, the way that they're building their families or their unions on unnatural, unholy, disgusting ways of life, that these people are feeling validated to sin, and they're feeling all the more happy and all the more receiving from the world, and in America, because it's just, everybody's just coming out, like everyone's coming out with their sins, and they're not ashamed anymore. And it's like God talked about, how he said that that's how men would be. I just see the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah manifested, you guys. And God warns so many times what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because of their sexual sins and because of their unnatural ways of life. These were people having sexual relations with the same gender and with animals. I mean, you guys, I have really been sitting down with God about this, and I really do see that America is going to get to a place where they're going to pass such perverted laws to validate the LGBT community. And because that's the Antichrist, part of the Antichrist system right there, is the LGBT community. And this is all prophetic. I mean, this is all going to happen because God warned that it would happen. So we're going to start seeing more perverted, wicked laws passed. We already know that there's the law of the same gender being passed in all states in America now. You guys are going to see more laws being passed. I just see it. I see how people are going to be able to marry whoever they want. It doesn't matter how many people are in a union, what genders they are or claim to be. I just see that laws are going to continue to be passed to embrace that sin. And you're going to see it rise up more in America, where there's going to be people marrying even family. God talks about incest. And I'm sick to even think about this, you guys. Like, in other countries, there are children, I think they're 12-year-old brides, that men can marry young women, and not even women, these are children, 12-year-old children, who, without their consent, right, are being forced to marry these 40, 50-year-old men. I mean, I just see laws like that passing here eventually. You can expect to see family members marrying each other. And eventually man and beast. Like men and animals. Like, I'm sick to even think about this world and what children are being forced to grow up and having to watch all of this sick behavior. And just, you guys haven't even begun to see really the effects that it's going to have on these children until they're a little older. And I don't know how much time we have here. I know that we're living in the last days. I know my conscience is clear in saying that. Absolutely, the prophecies are here. The signs are here. The earth is going through her birthing pains. But I'm just sharing my heart about how, like, sick it makes me think of just everything that's going on now. I can't even imagine what America would look like 2 years from now, or 3 years, or 4 years. I can't even, my mind can't process the evil that this place is warping into. Like, I'm so sick to my stomach. Just with the things that are going on now, and there's a lot. I'm not making light of the things that are going on now, but it's just going to get worse. I just hear God saying it's going to get worse, and I can't even stomach it. I worry for my children who are now adults. I worry for, future grandchildren, just children in general. I feel God's heart so strong about children in general and what they're having to feel, and I know that God's going to have to pour out more judgments to defend them. Just sick to my stomach thinking about it. Yeah, I just see that, back to what I was saying, that the things that God was showing me was about, like, just the different things that children are going to have to see, like, when they start passing certain laws of, transgenders being able to use public restrooms, like the women and the men's restrooms. You're going to have, like, men who call themselves women walking into women's restrooms. I mean, I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm uncomfortable knowing that me as a woman, that I would have to share a restroom legally with someone who claims to be a woman but who was born a man, and they're saying that whatever their reasons are in claiming they're transgender, whatever reasons they are in claiming who they are or what gender they are, doesn't even matter. If a person is born a male or female, they are a male or female, and that's it. I mean, I don't care what people feel like being, right? Like, if I said, oh, I want to be a dog, does that make me a dog? No. Anyways, it makes me sick, because I'm thinking about these children who have to share public restrooms with these perverted people. I'm going to say it, they are perverted people. There's a lot of perverted people who are in that mindset. And then I know that there are those who genuinely are confused, right? Like the younger people who are confused about the things that they've been watching the world, except the LGBT community the last 5 years. So then you have the younger people who are genuinely, like, confused, but they know in their hearts what's right and wrong, what's sin and what is good, and what God calls evil. But I just can't imagine being a child right now and having to witness all of this evil. And I was thinking about that. I'm thinking about, well, what if, there's going to be teachers who are going to be transgender, and they're already passing laws in America in some states, depending on what state and their laws, for kindergartners to be having sex ed and to be learning the history of the LGBT community as though it's like this prideful, wonderful history, when it's completely evil, completely wicked. I can't even imagine having a kindergartner right now in school having to learn sex ed from that system. The system that's in place, that's growing, more perverted, more sick, more against God's heart day after day. And I know, guys, I know that some people can't homeschool. I get it, okay? I know that I was privileged enough to be able to take my kids out of school and homeschool them the last 5 or so years of their schooling. Not everybody's able to do that. My husband worked and I stayed home and I didn't have to work. I was able to do that. So my heart really does grieve and goes out to all the parents who are just in situations to where you can't just yank your kids out of school. And so I'm saying, like, oh my gosh, my heart is so with you guys, because I know how difficult it is when the parents are trying to raise their children in a godly home, and the school system, the public school system, is completely against God's heart. And then there's some private school systems, just depending upon whatever religion they are, and how they even can twist certain things around. But, so my point is like, I get it. Like, I know that not everybody can pull their kids out of school because of whatever reason of your situation, whether it's like you're a single parent and you're the only one who is the source of income, or, whatever. My heart goes out to all parents who have young children, who are having to raise young children in this wicked world, with the way the system is growing into the beast system, and it's here, and it's going to get more evil and wicked, and you're going to have to sit down with your children and really explain truth to them, and explain God's heart to them, and really live out God's heart, really live out His commands of loving Him first and loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And really setting that example for your children, for your grandchildren, for everyone, right? to watch you, because I know, you guys, like, the persecution of the saints is already here. It's been here for a while. I've been going through persecution ever since I sought Jesus. It's been, like, since 2009 or 8, something like that. So, I mean, I've been persecuted in moments in my life, heavily, like, for following God, and I'm still getting persecuted daily. Anyways, my point is like, persecution of the saints is already here. It's not something we have to wait on. It's not a sign that we're like, when is the persecution coming? It's already here for those who are following God, because the whole system is persecuting the pure heart, and the beast system, right? So I understand the whole battle that goes into raising children, trying to raise children in a godly home, with the world going the opposite direction. So yeah, my heart really goes out to all of you who have young children. My advice and godly counsel to you is to pray, to seek Jesus with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Pray with your children. Let them see you pray. Let them hear you confess sin before God. Just come together as a family, bond, love your spouses, love, their parents if you're all together. I know some families are not together, but I just mean, like, love your families, bond with one another, really draw near to God, because things are about to get really, really bad, and it'll be in a time when you least expect it, because Jesus talks about this so much, you guys, about how God will pour out wrath and more judgments in times when the world is saying, peace and safety, and boom, more judgments will come. So, it'll be in a time when you least expect it. And just like when this pandemic happened, nobody was expecting that. It caught everybody off guard. I knew that a storm was coming. I knew, like, God put it into my conscience and into my heart and gut. I knew that something was coming, but even He didn't tell me how this whole pandemic was going to play out. And I seek Jesus with all my heart. So even I was shocked at how it happened, but not necessarily completely shocked, because I'm awake and I'm sober-minded, but He did have me talk about different things that has happened, like the virus. I made videos about this years ago. You guys can go look it up. In my videos, I talked about how there would be a deadly virus, and just how evil and wicked it would get here in America, and it's here. So I wasn't surprised. It was just the current of events on how it unfolded and happened, is what I mean. Is like, I didn't have full knowledge and understanding how it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, because I only seen part. Like, God reveals whatever He wants to His messengers. So, like, He did show me a lot of this, how He did show me this in dreams, but He didn't tell me a specific time. Like, I wasn't given a time frame. I just knew it would be in my lifetime. That's all I knew. So, like, God does, I'll put all kinds of scripture at the bottom of this video, but God does reveal, before He pours out wrath, before He pours out judgments, and just the things to come, He does reveal this to His messengers in dreams, visions, and just in their closet, when they're in their relationship with Jesus, in their communion with Him. Like, God shared certain things with me, to keep me sober-minded, to keep me awake, to keep me in deep prayer, to keep me close to Him, you guys. I'm sick to my stomach. It makes me so sick, and just everything that's going on in the world. And it's devastating. Even though God showed me these things in my dreams and stuff that I had uploaded years ago, even though He showed me these things, and He's been expressing that these things would come, now that a lot of it's here and more is unfolding, I'm watching these prophecies and these visions and dreams, and just our communication that God and I have had together in our relationship. I'm watching these things unfold. And even though He prepared me, in a sense, to know it's coming, I don't think anything can really prepare a person when it's here, because it's so sickening and heartbreaking and grieving and just traumatizing, right? But it's the strength of God that holds His people up, so that's how I'm held up, because literally, if I didn't have Jesus, this is where I'm like, how can anybody be functioning normally right now who don't have God? Because I have Jesus, and I'm aware of the things that are going on. God pours wisdom into my heart and strength, and I have this knowledge that He's given me through my walk with Jesus. This isn't coming from anybody else, but my walk with God. And I'm looking at the world going, oh my gosh, I'm affected. Like, I'm traumatized with the things that I'm seeing in the world. I can't even imagine being a soul right now, walking in this world, and not having Jesus, not being close to Jesus, not having His strength and His peace to get me through moments that seem impossible, right? Because my heart is so grieved over sin, you guys, that it's a straight up miracle that His saints are even able to really stand in this time to see everything that's going on. And it's only by the grace of God, it's only by God that I'm able to stand and to withstand the evil that I'm having to see on a daily basis and unfold right before my very eyes. It's humbling, it's sobering, it's all the more reason to cling to God because of everything that's happening, and more is coming, more evil, more wicked. My human mind and heart says this thing of like, how in the world can it get more evil than this, Jesus? This is bad. And then, He'll remind me of things, of visions and things that I've had, and it really does make me sick. So it's almost like I have to take a break and be like, whoa. Oh my gosh, Jesus, like, it's coming. And I'll take a day or two off and kind of focus on, like, the good that's coming out of things that are happening in the world, or else my mind will be so overwhelmed and just so traumatized by everything that I'm seeing that it's God saying, okay, you've seen enough, come sit with me and I'll refresh in your heart, your soul. Okay, and then there you go, and then He puts me back out here, and I mean, it's not like I go anywhere, but you know what I'm saying, like, in my heart, that's what my heart is doing. So, and I'm close to Jesus. That's why I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine walking right now, living right now in this time without God as my guide, as my comfort, as my strength, as my shelter, as all source of everything that I go to get help, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. I can't imagine walking in this world without Him and without all of those beautiful gifts that He gives to those who draw near to Him. I really want to just encourage you guys, draw near to Jesus. So much more evil is coming. And I'm just sick. I'm sick to my stomach at all the evil that people are just embracing and flaunting before the world. And then you've got, people going on vacations and spring breaks. That is not natural, you guys. That is not a natural response to be going on vacations, getting drunk, partying. Speaking of drunk, it is like a drunkenness upon the world right now. And because, like I said earlier, it's like spring. Like, the world's kind of waking up, so people are getting in this mood of like, I'm getting the heck out of here, and they're busting out their doors, and they're making plans, not even acknowledging God, asking Him what His will is for their life still. People are just so tired of being locked up and cooped up with their families, which, really, think about that for a second. It is a blessing if you have a family, if you have a spouse and children, and you guys have been forced to spend more time together the last year. That's a blessing, regardless of whether or not you're living in a big house or a small house, or, I mean, if you have shelter, if you have food, if you have the sources that you need to survive, and you get to be with your families in this time, I don't see how anyone could be complaining, because there's people right now who are losing family members to COVID. There are people right now who are dying and can't see their family members again. So and then I've seen like a lot of articles about that too, where there's these memes, these joking memes of spouses complaining about getting on each other's nerves in the last year. There have been divorces that happened because they spent too much time together. What? And then it's like parents are jokingly saying things about their children, saying, yeah, I'm glad the schools are opening up, get them out of here, I see that going on. It just really shows where a person's heart is, you know what I'm saying? I know that parents need a break, I get that, But to feel led to go on social media and to complain in a jokingly manner about how you're seeing your kids too much is absolutely insane. Because any day that a person gets to see their children is a gift from God. And woe to anybody who makes that, who takes that lightly, There are people right now who want to be with their kids, who would do anything to be with their kids if they were able. I just had so much on my heart, and I felt God saying, just start the video camera, let's record this, and I just feel like I could talk about this for hours. And maybe He'll lead me. I don't know. I know I'll be uploading more videos and podcasts, however Jesus leads. But I'm so grieving over this world and the things that are coming, and I want people to wake up. I want people to start getting ticked off and mad about how evil it is, and that's what's really triggering me, is I'm seeing people not responding in a natural, normal way to the evil that's happening in the world, and it's angering me, it's making me sick. I want to see more people get sick to their stomachs at the evil that's going on in the world. I want to see more people reacting in a natural response of just how evil it is, and how in the normal response of growing in the lessons that God wants them to grow in this time, learning the hard lessons, talking about the lessons, really getting in the battle, sharing God's heart, sharing the things that they're learning about this world and about their own heart, sharing the things that make God angry and hurt God's heart, sharing the things that please God. I want to see people rise up. I want to see God's army really rise up and start sharing these things, because I know I've learned a lot of lessons, you guys, in this last year, and I want to be able to speak about anything that God wants me to share. He will use anyone who's a willing vessel to talk about whatever He puts on someone's heart, and He'll do it in His way and timing. But I'm sad because I'm not seeing that. I go on social media and I see the complete opposite. People making plans, people talking about all the plans that they're going to be making this summer, and it's just not normal. It's not normal. It's like the world going back to sleep. I see it. The world is going back to sleep, and they think just because the sun is shining and spring is here that they can be done with the punishment and the judgment of the whole pandemic, and they're not letting even a deadly virus stop them from their own selfish plans. And I'm not saying it's sin to go travel and to go see your family if that's what God leads you. If that would be different, if you're going to see a family member and you're staying with them or whatever. But I'm speaking about specifically those who are traveling to take a vacation, who are staying in these hotels and they're swimming together and they're getting drunk in these pools, and you have spring break, and these are kids who are college students. I call them kids, and they are young, but they still know better. If people are seeking Jesus, if people are really sensitive to what's going on, they wouldn't be going to these college spring break gatherings, and all of that is just, it just shows, you guys, how people are not sensitive to God and to what's going on in the world. I really do see it. That's part of the generation of the children who have rose against their parents. And then, of course, God talks about, wanting to bring the fathers unto their children and to help restore them. So I'm not saying that can't be done. This is my heart. I'm expressing my heart and what I'm seeing in the generation today on how these young adults are behaving. And I see that a lot of it has to do with just the sin that's being embraced and taught, from the adults that have been in their lives, just because there's so few who are seeking Jesus. And then I know that people can really teach God's heart and laws and ways and live a godly, holy life, and their children can go the opposite. So but I know with all my heart that the seeds that are planted within God's people, like their children, I know that God's like protection is upon them, and that He listens to His people's prayers. So are you praying for your kids? Are you praying for the young adults? Are you praying for them? They need your prayers. I could talk about this longer, but I think I'm going to cut this short for now. I just feel God leading me. I can wrap this up now. But I'll be, like, recording more videos however Jesus leads me. I'm so sick to my stomach, you guys. My heart's so heavy. So heavy with the things that are coming. Things that the Satan is ushering from this LGBT community. And I know this is all prophetic. I know. I'm just sharing my heart with you. It's not natural, you guys. So many people are ignoring the heart of God, and people are going to be tested in this time to see. You're going to be tested to see if you're going to stand for what's right, instead of, like, condoning sin. Like, are your children coming to you, telling you to accept them for being gay, and are you celebrating with them, or are you having long talks, counseling them however God leads you? Like, I just see a lot of, it's just so messed up. I see a lot of parents who are holding hands with their children, young children and young adults alike, and older children, and walking in these, pride parades and these celebrations, and it's so completely wicked. And then this whole, like, feminist movement is completely wicked, and then the movement of, like, abortion, like, I'm just sick to my stomach. But with all of that being said, I want to tell you, regardless of what sin you've been living, whatever you've gone through in your life, if you've had an abortion, if you have been, a homosexual and you want to be set free, like, God will forgive you. He will help you. You just got to cry out to Jesus. And I just know that there's so many situations, like, if there's young teens who have had abortions, God's heart's with you, and He wants to comfort you and teach you things about it. And then also, like, I just know that it's sin to have the mindset to think that an abortion is normal and that it's not a big deal, when we've got, like, more animal laws that protect animals more than protect unborn babies. That's how wicked this world is, you guys. I just want to let you know, if you want to turn away from your sins, God will hear you. He will. And He will give you a heart of flesh. He'll give you His own heart. He'll take away the stone heart that you have within you. If you open your heart to God and confess your sins and be sincere and honest and ask Him to allow you to feel how sin grieves His heart, if you do that, God will answer you. If you genuinely want to be pleasing to God and really want to take a step back and look at your life and examine it, and really just ask God, like, what can I do? How can I be better? Like, what do you want from me, Jesus? Like, how can I be pleasing to you? How can I help shine a light in this world and be an example of what real love means? God will answer you, and He'll heal you. Because I know each situation and case is different, but my point is cry out to Jesus. He has all the answers that you need. Okay, so I feel God telling me to wrap this up, so seek Jesus Christ with all your heart.